Alright, what's up everybody? It is Kyle from 53 Titanium here, and today we're going to be taking you through what our clutch kits come with. These are our upgrade kits to build a titanium clutch, replace all your steel parts or most of your steel parts in your clutch with our titanium pieces. Saves you a lot of rotating weight. The titanium seems to bite better, especially when you use our frictions. We're going to take you through everything. So we're going to build out a clutch. This is going to be a junior sprint clutch, so it's going to be a 3-disc. We're going to take you through everything step by step to make sure you guys understand how to put everything together properly. So when you get our clutch, it's most likely going to come saran wrapped with all the pieces like this in a box. That way it doesn't vibrate around and it doesn't scratch anything. So we're going to open this up and show you what everything is. All right, so when you get one of our clutch kits, this is what it's going to come with. And you have your bag of hardware here. So we're going to start with the clutch kit parts itself. Obviously you have your spring plate, our new plate or our lever plate, whatever you want to call it, activator plate. This is what is going to bolt down to your top plate of the clutch. So this is made out of aluminum. We've machined these down now so that they're even lighter, but still holds its rigidity and thickness, so it is not going to flex. So you have your top plate of the clutch that this goes on, springs bolt to. Obviously you put your levers in here first, so we'll go through that in a second. You got your 2 floaters for a 3-disc, 1 floater for a 2-disc, and no floaters for a single, and then your titanium drive hub and drive plate. Then in your pack of hardware here, we're going to open this up real quick. In your pack of hardware here, you are going to have, depending on what kit you got, is socket head Allen 1032s that go into your lever plate and bolt that down into your drive hub, which will show you that. If you've got a 1-disc, you have 4. If you get a 2 or 3-disc, you will have 6. Then you have your lever pins here, which are also titanium. And then, very importantly, the last little screw you got, as I just organize all this stuff, is going to be a 440. This little guy is very important and often overlooked. This is a button head Allen that goes into your clutch basket. This goes in from the outside to your clutch basket so that the snap ring that holds your gear in place, which we'll show you that on one of our other baskets, the snap ring cannot rotate and allow the gear to pull out. Very important that you run that piece. So first things first, I'm going to build the clutch. I'm going to get our levers ready. I'm going to put our weights, which we also sell. These are not titanium because you need the extra weight on the levers. These are stainless steel socket head Allens with stainless nylock bolts as well, or nuts as well. So we're going to put 2 bolts on each lever as weight. So we're going to fast forward through that and then we'll take you into building the rest of the clutch. All right, so as we go to tighten these down, I just want to give you a little bit more information about some stuff that we offer. These are our colorful zinc-coated steel levers, so they are going to be corrosion resistant. When you go to service your clutch and you want to just blast it with WD-40, if you're soaking it in acetone, then you're not going to have to worry about these getting corroded. Some guys wash the car with the clutch on, which I don't recommend. You should always take your clutch off, make sure that you don't hear any grinding in your levers or between the discs. That way you know that everything's nice and clean. We've seen that some guys will get a lot of wear on the clutch if they don't have the dirt out of it. It seems like the titanium clutches don't wear as fast as traditional steel clutches, meaning you're able to get more races out of it before you need a rebuild. But you just have to make sure that you maintain your air gap in the clutch, which we recommend 30 thousandths to 35 thousandths maximum air gap. And we'll show you how to set that and check that in a little bit. But anyway, more about the levers. We do also offer stainless levers that have a silver look to them. Very clean. They are a little bit more expensive than just our colorful zinc coated, which I have here. Now, when we're putting these lever weights on, as I accidentally knock a lever on the floor, we're just making sure that we're alternating the bolts back and forth so that you don't really get one side that's heavier than the other. As the clutch spins, and the levers go to kick out, it is going to wear on one side of the lever a little bit more. If you notice that, they don't kick out evenly because of the centrifugal force of the clutch going around. As these are spinning, they're going to want to tilt a little bit. We've spent a lot of time adjusting the slots, the depths for the pins, and everything in our lever plate to make sure that that engagement is as smooth as possible with little wear as possible. All right, so we have our levers here. We made sure all the levers are put together with the bolts facing the same way. They're opposing directions. Some guys don't run bolts for additional weight. Some guys run even more weight by, there's a machined piece of metal that you can get that the bolts would thread into to add a little bit more weight. It all comes down to whatever your clutch builder recommends or personal preference if you're building your own clutches. So now that we've got these together, we're gonna go ahead and put the pins in. We have noticed that on some of these, the pin might go in a little tight. It's okay if it's a little tight into the lever itself, as long as there's no binding into the plate, which we've had great results with these plates, especially since we opened up this a little bit and the depth of the pocket, and they've been working great for us. So we'll go ahead and put these levers in there just like that. Let me go ahead and get all this done for you, and we'll be right back. All right. We have all of our levers in onto the plate, and they are all nice and free for us. And you can take the time right now to hear that there's no grinding, crunching, or anything. When you get racing on dirt especially, you might get some dirt in there. If you hear any grinding, crunching, you know, that could be harmful to the clutch, causing it to bind up and not allow it to move freely. So once you have all your levers in there, it's going to slide onto your top plate just like that. I am going to go get some springs, some of our spring retainers, and we're going to put the springs on here. That way when we go over to the clutch bench, we can finish building this and show you how that all goes together. All right, so I'm back with our springs and our retainers. We're going to drop all of our springs in there, make sure they sit flush and aren't crooked or getting bound up in the pockets at all. They should be perfectly fine. These are our spring retainers. These are made out of aluminum. They are coated so that they will not corrode as well when you go to clean your clutches. We're gonna go ahead and get all these threaded in there, and then we'll check the heights when we have it on the clutch and getting it all set together. All right, so we have our lever plate all together with our springs on there. They are just hand tight at the moment. It's important to make sure that you don't over tighten your springs. So we're not going to tighten these down with a wrench until we're ready to check our spring heights and make sure they're at the number that we want to get the correct RPM engagement with our clutch. So this is how everything's going to look. And you can see all moving nice and free. So we're gonna hop over to the clutch bench now, put this on the stand, get our frictions in there, and get the rest of this built out. We have our frictions. Now, we sell these frictions that are specific to titanium. They are similar to our brake pad compound, and what they do is they mate better with the titanium pieces in the clutch and provide more bite, better acceleration. They just grab better when it comes to being paired with the titanium. You can use your standard bully frictions in the titanium clutch. You just might not have them bite as hard as the frictions that we sell do. So we're building 3 discs, so we'll have 3 frictions going in there. We're going to drop in our first friction. Then we take one of our floaters, and recently we've been building the clutches with 061 and 077 floaters. We measure all of these and then laser engrave on there the thickness that they are. That helps you be able to dial in the air gap that you're gonna have with. Some guys don't want to use shims, some guys want to use more shims, so it all comes down to preference as we're finding. Now, on the 3 disc, I line up the first teeth with the keyway over here. The second friction goes on. The second one is going to be staggered, offset. That way when we drop this top one on, the top of this can be lined up with the hole, so it's offset, lined up with the keyway. That is just preference that we stagger everything like that, make sure we're utilizing all the different teeth. So we forgot one friction, drop that in there, get this on. So now we can feel just with this sitting on here that everything is a little tight. So we're going to need to add a couple spacers, little shims that go on here. They do tend to get stuck inside the teeth as you come on and off, and when you go to tighten everything down, sometimes the shims will stick to each other and get stuck. So we're going to add probably 3 shims on this clutch. That seems to be the normal, so let me grab those real quick. All right, so we're back with our shims. I have 2 silver shims, 1 gold shim. We're going to start there, and I'll get all these lined up. We're going to line it up with the holes. Now there are holes that are not threaded. You can see the difference in that. Get them lined up the best you can. That way your socket head Allens go in nicely. And now with that just rested on there, you can see everything moves freely. Seems like it might be a little thick. I'm going to pull 1 shim out and just go with the 2 silver. I'm going to go with 1 silver, 1 gold right now. Every clutch, even out of the same batch, could be a little bit different. Just machining tolerances can be a little off. That seems a little bit better. Let's go ahead and tighten that down and see where we're at. All right, so I like using the long 5/32 here. I take it off and I'm going to hand tighten all of these for right now. Get all 6 in there. On a single disc clutch, you would not have all 6 of these bolts. You would only do them in the corners. That is because the bolts that hold the backing plate to the drive hub are too long and they would come through. So for example, you're going to see instead of all 7 of these, we only have the 4 corners. That way you have the 4 open slots to bolt the lever plate into. That is why those kits only come with 4. That is the only difference in hardware other than the frictions and floaters and the size of everything between the single disc and the 2 and 3 disc clutches. So I'm getting all of these in here. All right, perfect. So what I like to do, because I've had it give me false readings before, is I like to take all of the frictions, move them around a little bit so they kind of settle themselves in place. And with the junior sprint stuff, I also like to check and make sure the air gap is correct after every run that we do, and that just helps me stay on top of the maintenance. That way I don't end up having something come apart. So we are looking for a nice tight 30 thousandths. So I'm going to grab my 30 thou on my feeler gauges. It is just, it fits, it's a little snug. I don't want to force it. Let's check 28. 28 goes in nice. So I'm going to check it on the bottom as well. Lift everything up. Yep, the 28 fits. So I'm okay with the 28. Chances are it will open up a little bit as soon as we run it on the clutch tester to set the RPM. So right now it is at 28 thousandths of an inch. We recommend 30 to 35, maximum of 35 thousandths once you have it in. All right, so I have my spring height checker here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my nut driver and just give these a little bit of a tighten till I feel like we're getting close. I'm gonna go ahead and get these all about even real quick, and then I'll start checking these heights. We're probably gonna set around 260. So the junior sprint stuff, depending on RPM engagement, I've seen them go between 240 to 265. 265, 260 is where I like to keep everything, gives us a nice engagement. As the springs possibly wear out a little bit more, I've gone down to 240 to get the engagement back where you need to be as far as RPM. So we'll check this. Still a little big on these, so I'm just going to tighten them down slowly. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure that you're not over tightening everything. I have them all about the same. Once you build a few of these, you can start to get the hang of it and start to just feel where your heights are going to be based on the tension on the springs. Well, it's 265. So we're 260. Oh, it moved. Just under 260 on that. This is going to be 265. Just little turns. Check them just over. Set it. So you're watching it go around 2 times and come back to 60. There's 1, there's 2, and make sure it's nice and flat, 260. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these set, and then we'll finish putting everything back together. All right, I am happy with where everything is set at the moment. So we've got everything air gapped, 28 thousandths. Then we have our spring height set to 260. We are nice and free. Everything moves around, nothing's bound up. Now let me show you how one of our clutch baskets goes together. All right, so we have one of our 3-disc aluminum clutch baskets here. We do sell all of our own clutch baskets as well. This is already fully assembled and we're going to take it apart to show you how it goes together. This silver piece that you see in here is your bearing snout. That would usually be on the back side of your bully clutch. Ours is separate, so your basket assembly and your actual clutch pieces are all completely separate. You don't have to disassemble this anytime you want to take your clutch apart. So on this one, you can see we have our thrust washers and thrust bearing. There is the very important 440 set screw that is in the basket that is holding the gear snap ring in place so it does not rotate. I'll talk more about that in a second. And the last thing I want to show, it's hard to see on the video because it is so little, but we recommend 30 thousandths of end play, which is how much the bearing snout can move in and out. This one's actually a little bit tight, but this is just for running the tests on the dyno. We don't actually have a chain on that clutch. So we're going to take the outside snap ring off here. That went flying. All right, so once you have that off, this slides apart. On this clutch, you can see that we have a thick and a thin washer with our thrust bearing. Now, you can run whatever you'd like in here. On some of our other clutches, we would just run one thin washer with no other second washer and a bearing. Some guys just run 3 washers together with no bearing. So you need at least a washer, a thrust washer in there. Then when you look inside here, you see the backside of the 440 holding this snap ring from rotating, because if it rotates and one of these gaps ends up where the gear is being held into the basket, it could pull out, it'll rip out of the aluminum basket with the tension of the chain and destroy the clutch basket, and your night will be over. So it's very simple. This just all slides together and is one assembly. And now that is what our fully assembled clutch is going to look like while it is sitting there. We move this a little bit closer so you can see. And now we are going to test and try to get our RPM engagement. All right, so we are all finished up with this clutch. Took a little adjusting to get the spring heights right. The spring powder coat on these is a little bit thicker than the other springs that I had, so the heights came up a little bit different. But this is our fully assembled 3-disc, ready to go on somebody's junior sprint. Like I said, we offer 1, 2, and 3-disc titanium upgrade kits. We do build some clutches as well and have some listed for purchase, mostly 3 discs ready to go. We carry pretty much all the parts that you need to build the clutches. The only thing you'll have to add on is your own gear and snap rings, and then spacers. At the moment, we don't carry that stuff. That's something down the line that we may carry, just so that we can be your one-stop shop for everything you need as far as upgrading your clutch. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or email on the website, and we'll get back to you and figure out what you need to get going.